On May 12, 1990, the playground in Ashikaga, Japan, was alive with laughter and the clatter of swings. Parents watched from benches, trusting the safety of this familiar spot beside a pachinko parlor. Among the children was 4-year-old Mami Matsuda. As the sun dipped, panic replaced laughter. Mami was missing. The search was frantic, voices echoing her name through the park and nearby streets. Police arrived, transforming the playground into a crime scene. The community's peace shattered. Fear and uncertainty settled in. Mami's disappearance was the third such case in the area in just over a decade, deepening the community's terror. Pressure on the police mounted as families demanded answers. The investigation began in a climate of urgency and dread. No one knew this day would expose a fatal flaw in Japan's justice system. The search for a suspect would soon take a tragic turn. It all started on this quiet, fateful afternoon. Mami's disappearance was the latest in a string of child murders haunting Ashikaga for over a decade. Each case followed a chilling pattern. Children vanished from public places near pachinko parlors. The media dubbed the unknown perpetrator the Ashikaga murderer. The community lived in fear, and the police, desperate for a breakthrough, faced mounting pressure. When Mami's body was found in a nearby river, public outrage exploded. The police intensified their search, determined to find a suspect quickly. In this climate, suspicion could harden into certainty without solid proof. The investigation soon focused on a local kindergarten bus driver, Toshikazu Sugaya. The need for resolution overshadowed careful police work. The urgency to close the book on a decade of terror set the stage for what followed. Sugaya's life was about to change forever. Toshikazu Sugaya was an unassuming kindergarten bus driver with no criminal record. In the frantic search for Mami's killer, police scrutinized anyone fitting a broad profile, Sugaya included. With little physical evidence, the investigation relied on vague witness accounts and circumstantial leads. Sugaya became the focus, not through hard evidence but by process of elimination and growing police conviction. The turning point, a new DNA test on evidence from the crime scene. Sugaya voluntarily provided a sample, confident he had nothing to hide. The primitive DNA analysis returned a match. Police believed they had their man and arrested Sugaya in December 1991. The community breathed a sigh of relief, convinced justice was served. But the so-called scientific evidence was deeply flawed. Sugaya's ordeal was just beginning. The case would soon unravel, revealing a tragic miscarriage of justice. The arrest was not the end, but the start of a nightmare. Sugaya was about to be forced to confess to a crime he didn't commit. In custody, Sugaya faced relentless interrogation, isolated from family and denied a lawyer. Japanese law allowed police to hold suspects for up to 23 days without charge, enabling marathon questioning. Detectives, convinced of his guilt, used aggressive tactics, yelling, threats, and psychological pressure. They presented the DNA result as irrefutable proof, insisting resistance was futile. The goal wasn't truth, but a confession. Day after day, Sugaya maintained his innocence, but his denials were dismissed. The psychological toll mounted: sleep deprivation, isolation, and exhaustion. The interrogation became a battle Sugaya couldn't win. The system was designed to extract confessions, not uncover the truth. Under such pressure, innocence was no defense. Sugaya was pushed to the brink. The stage was set for a coerced confession. After nearly 13 hours of relentless questioning, Sugaya broke and confessed. The confession was shaped by leading questions and suggestions from police. Details he recalled were actually fed to him by interrogators. His statement became a patchwork of confusion and police-supplied facts. This is classic confession contamination, police inadvertently creating the evidence they sought. In court, these details were used as proof of guilt, ignoring how Sugaya learned them. His confession was inconsistent, changing as he tried to remember what he'd been told. Admitting guilt became the only way to end the ordeal. Sugaya's confession was not an admission, but an act of surrender. Despite the confession and DNA match, glaring inconsistencies plagued the case. Sugaya's map of the crime scene was wildly inaccurate, and his timeline didn't fit the facts. He couldn't replicate the complex knots used on the victim's clothing. Eyewitness descriptions didn't match him. The DNA test, considered cutting edge then, was primitive and prone to error. Police presented it as infallible, hiding its limitations. Exculpatory evidence was ignored in favor of the confession and flawed science. The case against Sugaya was built on shaky ground. Yet, the system pressed forward. At trial, Sugaya retracted his confession, describing police coercion and contamination. But in Japan, confessions were king, his retraction dismissed as desperation. The prosecution relied on two pillars: the confession and the DNA test. The court accepted both as irrefutable, ignoring inconsistencies and the coercive interrogation. Sugaya was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Appeals failed. The justice system refused to reconsider. Yet, a small group of journalists and lawyers persisted, convinced of his innocence. Advances in DNA technology offered hope. Sugaya's lawyers fought for a new test on the original evidence. After years, the court agreed. The results were stunning. The DNA did not belong to Sugaya. The scientific foundation of the case collapsed. After 17 years in prison, Sugaya was exonerated and released in 2009. His case exposed the dangers of relying on confessions and flawed science. The truth, long buried, finally emerged. But the damage was done. Sugaya's exoneration shocked Japan, exposing deep flaws in the justice system. The case forced a national reckoning with police methods and the dangers of confession-based convictions. Public outrage led to major reforms, including mandatory video and audio recording of interrogations for serious crimes. This aimed to deter coercion and ensure confessions were voluntary. The case highlighted the risks of tunnel vision and the need to consider all evidence. Police training was updated to emphasize objectivity and caution against rushing to judgment. Forensic evidence began to face greater scrutiny in court. Defense lawyers were empowered to challenge confessions and scientific claims. The Ashikaga case became a permanent lesson in the cost of injustice. It transformed Japan's legal landscape, though challenges remain. Sugaya's ordeal is a constant reminder: justice must be careful, impartial, and skeptical. One wrongful conviction can change a nation. Sugaya's story is a sobering lesson on the fragility of truth in the justice system. Interrogations, especially of vulnerable suspects, are fraught with risk. The power imbalance can lead to false confessions, especially under pressure. Children and vulnerable adults are particularly susceptible to suggestion and coercion. The Ashikaga case mirrors countless wrongful convictions worldwide. Safeguards, like recorded interrogations and legal representation, are essential. The reforms in Japan are crucial steps toward a system that seeks truth, not just confessions. Protecting the innocent is the highest duty of any legal system. The Ashikaga case is a chilling reminder. A rush to judgment can destroy lives. Justice demands skepticism, safeguards, and a commitment to truth above all.